Chers auditeurs,
Dear listeners,
bonjour.
welcome in Comme d'Archi Podcast Season 4
Saison 4, dans le monde fascinant des architectes.
and in the architectural projects.
Je suis Anne-Charlotte Deponte, passionnée d'architecture et docteur des universités en histoire de l'archi.
I am one of the spokespersons of Anne-Charlotte, who is a PhD in architecture history.
Merci
Thank you
d'être avec moi aujourd'hui.
to be with us today.
Et
And
maintenant,
now,
lundi en français, place au talent.
and Wednesday, let's talk projects. In English, of course.
Bienvenue dans Comme d'Archi.
Dear listeners, good morning. This is Esther on behalf of Anne-Charlotte. It's good to meet you again in Season 4 of Comme d'Archi, episode 47. Let's start by presenting Jean-Michel Buron, his agency, Epicuria Architects, and then his field of work, very dedicated to teaching. A text written by Epicuria Architects. One architect, two projects. Presentation of the agency. Epicuria Architects creates public, educational, cultural, and sports facilities. Clarity, luminosity, functionality, such is its credo. Epicuria Architects has dedicated its work for over 20 years to places of study and knowledge. Winners of numerous competitions, the agency has completed more than 50 projects for schools, cultural and sports facilities in the Île-de-France region, in other regions, and overseas. Jean-Michel Buron, its founder, is the great-grandson and son of teachers. He comes from a family dedicated to teaching and for whom education is a fundamental right. This transmission has nourished his commitment to public service and his vocation to build places of knowledge that elevate the spirit. Three convictions are at the heart of the agency's work. The right to beauty for all. Its architecture is rooted in the belief that buildings are at the service of citizens and the common good. Reconnecting humans to nature by constructing luminous, inspiring buildings in dialogue with the elements. Building for future generations. Balanced, sustainable, its buildings fit with sobriety in very diverse contexts. Two projects. Common theme, interior streets bathed in light. Jean-Michel Buron grew up in Tunisia. He is a child of the Mediterranean and is inspired by the architecture of Oriental cities in many of its projects. The Lucie Aubrac International High School in Courbevoie. A building that frees itself from its urban constraints to spread out in height around a large interior street of 5 floors. A first for a high school. The project dares to use an interior street that extends 5 stories high and optimizes the space in order to free itself from its urban constraints. Land between 2 streets, common courtyards, zone that cannot be built on, facing high-rise buildings. The design enhances the site with simplicity, dialogues with its environment, and opens up views and perspectives on the neighborhood and on the Seine. The orientation of the buildings allows for the best possible sunlight by taking advantage of the open space to the southwest of the site. Inside, the vertical street, a real atrium, offers a protected and lively place full of transparencies as well as a great thermal comfort through its natural ventilation. A pixelated glass roof composed of photovoltaic cells filters the light and casts shadows on the walls. The volumes and lines of the walkways and stairways are magnified. Finally, the use of wood, particularly in the classrooms, brings warmth and preciousness. A harmonious whole which sublimes its urban environment. The ISEN of Caen, Higher Institute of Electronics and Numérique, competition won in 2022, notably against the prestigious Snøhetta agency. Like a large ship set on a base, freed from its constraints, the building unfolds in light and transparency around an interior street. The building, like a large ship, is staged. It can be seen from afar and opens up views and perspectives on the city and the canals. Its architecture, respectful of the soul of the place, makes it a new landmark of this new downtown district that integrates with the local urban fabric. The building's entrance gives a feeling of height and grandeur. It opens directly onto a reception hall and a vertical street, a naturally ventilated bioclimatic space. Light flows through both horizontally and vertically. Generous openings on each floor provide views and perspectives on the exterior. In height, the two wings of the building are linked by 3 wooden frame walkways whose maritime architecture evokes an inverted boat hull, stays, and nets. They allow the play of shadows, lights, and perspectives between the different levels. The design enhances the site with simplicity and dialogue with its environment. The approach is based on a renewed and purified vision of the form as well as on the taste for simple materials, nobly treated. Its hammered light-zinc facades capture the light and offer a sensitive aesthetic thanks to their play of reflections. In order to respect the place and sobriety, the base of the building, which is part of the former industrial district, is built in reused local brick. Raised, the project is thus discreetly freed from its constraints, from the risks of flooding, but also from the parking lot, which is hidden on the first floor and treated according to an oriental aesthetic borrowed from the moucharabieh. Dear listeners, thank you for tuning in. Let's meet again next week for a new Comme d'Archi in English. And until then, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Thanks to Julien Rebours, sound engineer, who is collaborating with us today. Don't forget to tune in to our previews on Instagram at Comme d'Archi Podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, don't hesitate to promote it by giving it 5 stars and a little comment on Apple Podcast or on your favorite podcast platform. And above all, subscribe to listen to all of our episodes for free. See you soon, and until then, take care of yourself.